Today on Midnight Mania Sports, we're going to be doing something different here today as we cannot get into the studio due to our school being closed as of right now. So we're going to do this on Instagram Live. I'm George Hathaway alongside Austin DeCouta, and today we're just going to be talking about the many cancellations in leagues throughout the NHL, NBA, and March Madness as well being canceled. And earlier today, free agency started. So we're going to be talking about the brief who's been going where pretty much in the NFL and potentially where Tom Brady is going. So make sure to stay tuned. So it's hard, especially for like a lot of people in our industry, not to be able to really kind of have a lot to talk about. And it's kind of difficult to find some topics to talk about. Well, but something that's really been helpful is that free agency started today at noon, and that's probably on the upside of this all is probably one of the more positive things to take out of it all is that NFL free agency just started, and there's been a lot of big names going around everywhere, and I think one of the more surprising ones would be DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, Hopkins getting traded to the Cardinals, for sure surprising. I wasn't expecting that to happen. And honestly, the Texans don't get great value as it stands right now. Because David Johnson is for sure not what he used to be. But this is a trade that we can look back on in a year. And it could surprise people because David Johnson has a chance to play with Deshaun Watson and really bounce back and help lead that back team in a situation where everyone's kind of counting him out. So I wouldn't be super surprised if David Johnson has a good year. Hasn't been good in a couple seasons, but for the Cardinals, you get a surefire Pro Bowl talented receiver, so can't go wrong there. And they only had to give up a second in David Johnson for him. But people have said too, like, well, the Pats only gave up a second for Sanu. But David Johnson does clearly have some value still amongst the NFL because he was traded in that package for Hopkins.
Yeah, and DeAndre Hopkins is a top 10 receiver in the NFL, if not top 5. And Kyler Murray at quarterback for the Cardinals wouldn't be too bad, a good deal between the two of them. And Watson as well, he kind of made a name for himself in the league because of Hopkins and because of that was his go-to receiver. So Watson's going to definitely struggle if he can't really have that go-to receiver. He still has Will Fuller as well, but still, if you're losing a guy like Hopkins, nobody can replace him really.
Yeah, and some breaking news for you, George. The Dolphins just signed Byron Jones, your former Cowboys star defensive back, to the contract. So one of the biggest defensive players in the market comes off the market now to Dolphins. So they're having a nice little day. 3 signings today. Flowers, the offensive guard, and they also brought in Shaq Lawson, so not a bad day for the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins are doing well. And Austin, you talked about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. He got his franchise tag that he wanted. So Dak Prescott doing some big things out in Dallas, and I'm proud of him because the Cowboys are looking good.
It's a good move for the Cowboys. You don't have to commit to Dak long term because you don't want to do that until he shows that he can lead you to a couple playoffs.
I mean, he did lead them the first season to the playoffs. He is also, he was second in NFL yards, 11th in interceptions, 3rd in touchdowns. So, I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. He does deserve that franchise tag.
We'll have to see how it plays out next year.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting just because he still has some weapons. Amari Cooper, though, that's going to be questionable because he's hitting the market. And where he ends up, it's going to be a mystery right now. And the Cowboys, they've struggled in the last few seasons. They now have Mike McCarthy as head coach. So that's going to be something new and something enjoyable to see because of Mike McCarthy's resume and what he did in Green Bay. He won a Super Bowl there. So he does have that playoff experience that will for sure help the Cowboys probably win a Super Bowl or even go to one.
Probably win a Super Bowl. That's a big statement, but I agree McCarthy's a good hire for that team. Should fit nicely in Dallas.
Yeah, and the Patriots, they franchise tagged Joe Thuney as their franchise tag for the season, and he's the left tackle for the Patriots, or offensive guard for the Patriots, and You know, do you like that move by the Patriots? What they did?
I think it's the best thing they could have done to not lose him because they weren't going to sign him to an extension.
Mm-hmm.
Because another team likely would have given him a massive 4-year contract
Mm-hmm.
from one of the highest paid guards. So the Pats get to keep him, or get value for him. They might be able to trade him in some kind of deal, which frees up money for them, and which gets them some assets back rather than just letting him walk away. And we've seen on some of the reporters saying that between the Tooney signing and re-signing McCourty, that Pats don't have the space for Brady. So we're gonna have to see what they do. They don't have the space for any quarterback.
They don't. And
so whether Stidham's the guy and then go and draft somebody, or I'm sure Belichick has a plan that we just don't know.
They definitely have a plan, especially at how high Tom Brady is, how great he is. You're going to have to definitely think of this like, okay, if we don't work out Brady, what's going to be the next best option for us? And for the Patriots, like you said, they don't have the money. Kyle Van Noy is now in talk with the Jets right now because he's a free agent, and the Patriots, if they're only going to be focusing on Brady, then they're going to be losing so many other players like Van Noy and Collins as well. Or they're going to have to trade somebody if they want to free up some space for Brady, because Brady's going to want that money and he's going to want those weapons as well. So you're going to have to put somebody around him. The Patriots didn't get the tight end in a free agency yet, and Austin Hooper, one of the best ones out there, went to the Browns. So really, looking at the Patriots, if they're going to get some weapons, they have to start doing that now, because you can't be looking down the road to getting some just like tight end that's not going to do much for you. You're going to have to get the best of the best for Brady, because you can't replace Gronk.
Right. And, the Pats have Sanu coming back healthy for a full year. Edelman, James White again. Mm-hmm. But Brady's going to need more. And, an interesting option that I think, nobody's talking about it, and it's probably very unlikely, but I was just kind of running through some scenarios today. And one of those would be the Falcons, right? The Falcons just released Devontae Freeman and Desmond Trufant. Frees up a lot of money. Austin Hooper didn't re-sign there, but they traded for Hayden Hurst. And they already have Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. Obviously, Matt Ryan's there. I don't know if they'd ever get rid of Matt Ryan, but it's just an interesting situation where it's like, hey, wait a minute. This team has a lot of cap, and they have some weapons. So that'd be a sleeper team for me. I don't think they'd ever move on from Ryan. If they did, that'd be interesting. And right now, look at the Buccaneers, the team that's most aggressive in the pursuit of Brady.
Yeah, and one thing that I read, one report, is that they did a really great job of kind of persuading Brady to come over to Tampa Bay, and he was very interested in that. Mm-hmm. And I know how Brady was at that meeting with Kevin Durant and the Celtics, in the Celtics' pursuit of getting KD when he hit the market. And, Tom Brady, I think he liked that idea of having all these people trying to come in and persuade him to come to their team. And if you're the Patriots, the only thing that you're going to have to say to Brady is that, look, you stuck here for 20 years. You won 6 Super Bowls. You can't do that anywhere else. The only place where he could honestly win would be New England, just because of how great Bill Belichick is at coaching.
And there's a risk for Brady to leave, right? If he leaves and doesn't win, has a bad season, then a lot of people are going to say, well, he's just a system quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He could do without Belichick. So he benefits a lot from staying, I think, continuing his legacy. But we'll have to see. Nobody, I don't think, really knows where he's going to go. So.
Yeah, and that's the mystery, is that Brady hasn't opened up about talking about it. He's been very kind of lay low with it. He hasn't, if he's in any interviews, he said, oh, we'll have to see what the future holds. So Brady's kind of keeping this under the table. The Patriots are keeping this under the table. The only teams that are really kind of talking about it are the Buccaneers or the Raiders. But as of right now, the Raiders got Nathan Peterman to kind of go there, which that's not really like anything special. It's Nathan Peterman. He didn't do good in Buffalo. And then he's been on so many different teams since then. So the Raiders, I think they're just going to stick with Derek Carr at this point. I think it's going to be the Bucs that are really going to start pursuing Brady. And I don't know what they're going to do with Jameis Winston, though. Would you have him back up to Brady, or are you just going to send him out somewhere else?
Yeah, he's probably going to go somewhere, I think, regardless of if Brady comes there. I think he's looking for a payday. I think a team will give him one that really needs a quarterback. So we'll have to see where Winston goes. I mean, coming off the year, we threw 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. I showed flashes, and I guess he had some correction done on his eyesight this offseason, so maybe that's a factor. Maybe he thinks that he can come back next season even better, but I don't know if that.
I don't think
it's not too hard to see like which guy's wearing which color jersey, even if your eyes are a little bit blurry.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell the difference between a dark colored jersey and a lighter colored jersey on who to throw it to. I think that was just an excuse for his, 20 and what do you have, a 30 and 30 season, 30 touchdowns or whatever, and 30 interceptions. So I mean, that's I think that's just an excuse for why he did so poorly.
Right. I mean, for Winston, high draft, just like Mariota. Now you're looking back at that draft, the number 1 and 2 pick are both free agents from that draft, and neither are the franchise quarterback that the teams thought they were going to be.
No. I mean, Mariota, he had that one good season when he led them to the playoffs, the Titans, a few years ago. He was great at Oregon. He won a national championship there. So, I mean, like he was a great quarterback, but then he just kind of he didn't fit into what the Titans were trying to do with Derrick Henry. And I think the Titans were trying to just revolve their offense around Henry rather than trying to focus mainly on Mariota to try to throw the ball more. I think they're just more of a running team, and that's why they kind of franchise tag or not franchise tag, but that's why they kept Tannehill on the team.
Yeah, and Tannehill got a nice extension, 4 years, $118 million, but it's only $60 million guaranteed, I believe. But still, a big number for a guy that was traded for a third-round pick out of Miami.
Yeah, and if you were to tell me that 2 years ago that Ryan Tannehill is going to get an extension for $118 million, I would have never believed you.
Right, and for the Titans to extend Tannehill but not Derrick Henry, Henry got a franchise tag. Kind of, well, you're Henry, you're not happy because you carried that offense for a long time.
No, he really did, and he was the main reason why the Titans beat the Patriots, and another reason why they also beat the Ravens as well, just because when Derrick Henry rushes for over 100 yards, the Titans are undefeated, and the Chiefs stopped him to only about 60, 70 yards that game. So really, the Titans' main success is through Henry, and that's why I think they franchise tagged him.
Exactly, kill it.
No, and one other thing coming out is that Ben Watson said he's going to retire now officially after 15 seasons. He was a great tight end on the Patriots. He didn't do so well last season just because the Patriots were trying to fill that void of Rob Gronkowski, that they were trying to use the tight end more for blocking rather than catching. And he had a good 15 seasons, though. He wasn't terrible.
Right. He was a consistent guy for a long time. Started his career with the Patriots, got a couple contracts elsewhere. And to stick around the NFL for 15 seasons is not easy. So that really shows you how talented he was.
Yeah, and especially in this NFL as well with all these different rules. And he kind of came through and had to kind of adjust to that as well.
Exactly, yeah.
And the Browns agreed to term with Case Keenum to be the former Redskins quarterback. He's going to be getting a 3-year, $18 million deal. $10 million of that is guaranteed. So Case Keenum backing up to Baker Mayfield, Austin Hooper, Jarvis Landry, Odell, and then Kareem Hunt as well. I mean, you look at this offense on paper, it looks great.
Yeah, and I think this contract kind of shows you two things. One, that the Browns are not going to be drafting a quarterback in the draft. And two, that Baker Mayfield's the guy, but also on a short leash because Keenum, you're committing $10 million or $18 million or whatever it is guaranteed to a backup quarterback, and Keenum's shown his capability to win a playoff game before. So if Mayfield has a bad start to the season, I could see them putting Keenum in and seeing what he does with the talent around him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised just because the Browns are so easy to change that quarterback position, especially if something isn't working out for them, that they would just have to really go to the next man. And that looks like it's going to be Keenum. And Keenum, he didn't play a lot in Washington. He had his ups and downs there. At first, people were questioning whether or not Keenum was going to start. Then he didn't get to start, and then he did at the end of the season. So I think this would be a good new start for Case Keenum on the Browns to kind of, just solidify himself with one team and just one team that will kind of just like trust him, unlike what the Redskins did.
Right, yeah. And, Keenum, when he has guys around him, he's impressive. So with the Browns set up right now, he should fare pretty well. If he was able to get a chance to start there.
But do you see the Browns actually winning anything at all? Because, I mean, even a playoff game?
It's hard. I think with Mayfield, it's going to depend on him. Like this year, I think a lot of it was on Baker, and Freddie Kitchens just not the right hire for him. So I think depending on how Mayfield, fares this year, that's kind of the deciding factor of how far the Browns will go.
The 49ers, and the Colts, they had a deal together earlier today. Is DeForest Buckner is going to the Colts for a first-round pick, and Austin, I mean, the 49ers, is that a good deal for them? I mean, that's the 13th pick, I believe.
Yeah, it's a situation where the Niners didn't really have room to keep Eric Armstead, Dee Ford, and Buckner, so they moved on from Buckner because you can find guys to play the interior, not as well as Buckner, but they believe that they can get a couple different pieces to kind of rotate in there. And if you're the Colts, you get the defender that you need. They wanted to sign somebody this offseason, but Buckner was better than anyone that was available, and he kind of really shores up that defensive line for the Colts. And if you're Indy, though, you trade away the 13th pick, which tells you that the Colts believe there was no quarterback going to be left at 13 for them to take, because they did commit some money to Brissett and Brian Hoyer, but if you're looking to grow, you probably need to get somebody a little bit better than Brissett. As much as I like him, I think that Colts were looking at the quarterbacks in this draft and felt that nobody was going to fall to 13. They moved on to that pick to get somebody they consider one of the best defensive tackles in the league.
Yeah, and there's been some talks about Ben Roethlisberger going to Indianapolis. Would you see him in a jersey there?
It depends. I mean, I could see the Steelers moving on from Roethlisberger, and honestly, I think that would be an interesting fit. Indy. I mean, comes in, there's a legacy of great quarterbacks in Indianapolis, and I think he'd be a nice fit. I don't know how healthy he is. That's the problem. If Roethlisberger's healthy, then I think he would be a starter on a lot of teams, and a lot of teams would want Roethlisberger, even for one more year, if he's healthy. I mean, if he's not healthy, then Roethlisberger really has no value. So it depends on himself and if he can stay healthy or if he still wants to play another year.
And one quarterback that kind of stuck around on a team is Kirk Cousins. He's going to be getting an extension from the Vikings. And Kirk Cousins, he's had his ups and downs in Minnesota, especially last season. And then he started heating up towards the end of the season. Do you see this as a good re-signing for the Vikings at all?
I've never been the biggest Kirk Cousins guy. I think he's a solid quarterback. And I think, for the time being, it at least shores up that the Vikings have the second best quarterback in the NFC North. So Cousins is a guy who will get into the playoffs. Dalvin Cook back in the backfield, and the weapons he has are pretty solid. Diggs might be on his way out, but still with Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, and Dalvin Cook, Cousins is a guy who isn't going to win big games, and he proves that. It's hard to give him an extension on that contract. So I would have liked to see him prove that he can win some games before he gets an extension.
You mentioned Stephon Diggs, and he tweeted out today that it's time for a new beginning. Now, what do you have to encrypt about that? I mean, you don't know if he could be talking about a quarterback situation, or he could be talking about himself going to another team, because I know he was very vocal last season about leaving Minnesota and potentially going somewhere else.
Yeah, I think for me, he definitely wants to go somewhere else. I mean, he's been pretty adamant about that for a long time. So I think for Diggs, it's going to be where is he going to go, rather than if that was about him leaving. I think it's definitely about him leaving. I think he's going to get moved, and the Patriots are obviously a team that's going to be calling. I don't know if they have the cap, the assets to make it happen, or the Eagles are going to be looking at him for sure. Like the Raiders wouldn't surprise me either. I think that's a very good fit there. As he moved to Las Vegas as well. But I think Diggs will for sure be moved by draft.
Yeah, and I'd like to see him on a Patriots jersey just because, even though he can be vocal and very out there about his thoughts or whatever, similar to Randy Moss and Antonio Brown, but not as bad as Antonio Brown. But Diggs, I think he's a great receiver, and I think Bill Belichick could set him straight. And this could also be a way for an incentive to keep Tom Brady. Be like, okay, look, listen, Tom, we have one of the, top 10 receiver in the NFL in Stephon Diggs. So if, we get him first, would you stay? And then Brady says yes, then like it would work out because the Patriots need other weapons besides Edelman out there.
Right. And I think Sanu would fare better with another receiver coming in because he was good in Atlanta. Reason Pats gave him a second-round pick for him, but he just can't be the number one on the outside. We need somebody else opposite of him, like he had in Cincinnati with AJ Green, like he had with Julio Jones in Atlanta. So if they can get somebody else to line up across from Sanu, that makes Sanu more valuable too, and gives him another year to get comfortable and not have to be the number one guy drawing the number one cornerbacks. Because Edelman's going to line up in the slot a lot.
And Edelman, he had a good year with the Patriots. I mean, even though he did lead the league in drop passes this year, and a lot of times players or the people are talking about, it's just because of his injury, and he played with a banged up, with the ribs, with knee problems, shoulder. So I mean, Julian Edelman was hurt most of the season, but still played through it, which is great that he can play through that and all, but at the same time, that's not good in the long run for him if the Patriots still want to keep him.
Right, yeah. Edelman, it's always a question of, is this injury going to be the one that keeps him out for long? The bounce back, he played through a lot of injuries before, but at the point where he's towards the back end of his career, he still has some good years left, but the injuries are not a taken. You have to wonder how much longer is Edelman going to be on the field.
And that is a big question, just because Julian Edelman, he's had a history of injuries, and they just seem to be just piling up on top of each other now at this point in his career. So really, if you just want to make sure he's healthy, and the offseason I think is great for Edelman, and the offseason will really help Edelman kind of improve his health and his craft as well.
Yeah, I agree. And, Edelman's a guy who's always going to come back and compete no matter who's at quarterback.
And the Cowboys are also on the tight end market as well, because Jason Witten looks like he won't be here for another season. I don't know whether or not he's going to retire. I know he's talked about it. And Blake Jarwin is going to come on a 4-year contract, about a maximum of $24.5 million. So is this a good pickup for the Cowboys, kind of trying to fill in that void at tight end?
Yeah, Jarwin's solid. Witten's kind of at the back end of his career now, almost done with his career. I don't know if he's going to continue it, but Jarwin's a solid guy for them. They have other options and weapons that, Jarwin doesn't have to be terrific, with what they have currently in their lineup.
Yeah, and that'll give an extra weapon for Dak Prescott to really improve his craft and to also make himself a better candidate to why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the more weapons, the better for any quarterback. And, for Dak especially, he's a guy who loves the underneath pass. And Jarwin's a guy who's really good at getting to the chain and picking up the first down.
And, I just read something that there's a lot of cornerbacks still available in free agency. Logan Ryan leading the list, Aqib Talib, Xavier Rhodes as well, Eli Apple too. Some big name players that were really great cornerbacks at one point in their career. And do you see Logan Ryan possibly returning to the Patriots?
I don't think so. I don't really think they need him. I mean, with Gilmore, now Jason McCourty back, J.C. Jackson, and Jonathan Jones potentially, that group is solid enough. I don't know what the market's going to be for Logan Ryan. He was okay in Tennessee, not solid, but I don't know if a reunion would happen here.
Because, I mean, he did end up picking Tom Brady off for what could have been his final pass in New England.
Exactly.
And for pick 6. So, I mean, I don't know if it would be the kind of ironic of him coming back again, but Logan Ryan did do a good job in New England, but it was sad to see him go.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan was solid here, like Malcolm Butler was. Both of them went to Tennessee, and neither had the success they had in New England, but for Ryan, he should get another shot at starting somewhere.
And most players, after they leave New England, do not have as great as a career as they did in New England, and that's just the Patriot way. You look at Dion Lewis, LeGarrette Blount when they both left, and just a number of Patriots players have left New England and ended up coming back, or not coming back, but ended up doing worse than they did in New England.
Yeah, I mean, a reunion's never out of the question with the Patriots. They brought back LeGarrette Blount before, guys who have gone elsewhere, and had Jimmy Collins, another one who's come back and had success in the Patriots system.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Collins, I don't know if I see him resign with the Patriots. He was good the first half of the year, but struggled a lot the second half. So I'm the guy who could be leaving. And I know you mentioned Van Noy earlier, and he had said he's not taking a hometown discount. This is really Kyle Van Noy's first time getting a big contract ever. I mean, he wasn't that great in Detroit. Came over here and proved his value, so he should get a nice payday. And I don't really see him returning either to the Patriots defense. The addition of a linebacker would make the most sense for the Patriots, though, in free agency.
Yeah, I think the key points that the Patriots really need to hit on is a tight end, a linebacker, and some offensive line players, because that offensive line struggled for them last season. I don't think Brady has dropped back as many times as he did last season throughout his entire career. Marshall Newhouse, he needs to go. I would not keep him on the team.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I don't think he'll be back. And
no.
It affected Sony Michel a lot. A lot of Patriots fans didn't love Michel, but I think the biggest, part of Michel's struggle is because of the offensive line last year.
I mean, he did good 2 seasons ago, and then that was his rookie season, and then he kind of came back this year in that sophomore slump, and that was because of that offensive line where he couldn't just get open. He couldn't find an opening there, and the offensive line didn't do a good job blocking as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so switching over from the NFL to go over to the NCAA, I mean that was a kind of a last minute decision right there. I mean, I don't know if you were like kind of watching any of the games or anything like that, but it was kind of like last minute, like players were on the court warming up, and then 5 minutes before a game, they would end up like canceling the game or even that tournament.
Yeah, with March Madness, it kind of stinks for all the players, especially the seniors who made it there and now don't get a shot to compete in March Madness. So for them, that's the toughest part. I mean, for anyone too. Some of these teams might never make it back to March Madness, and if you're the tournament, the people in charge of it, you don't really have an option, because playing March Madness without fans isn't really exciting.
No.
And especially with, not allowing big groups of people together, that kind of stinks. But I would have rather see them postpone it if possible. I mean, move it to May or something. Whatever you could have done to keep it from being canceled altogether.
Yeah, and you mentioned the seniors and players who won't be returning if they're going to the draft. But the NCAA isn't allowing spring athletes to return. I don't think that'll happen with winter athletes. It doesn't look that way right now.
No, I mean, for most of them, they got, a full season of action. I mean, especially the teams who weren't making the tournament, and even the teams who did. The tournament was your last thing that they had, but, spring athletes will get another, year of eligibility. I don't think the winter will, however.
Yeah, and for a lot of those winter athletes, most of those players are anyways one and done. Even though that they looked forward to March Madness their entire season, is that they play, they go on to a tournament, they lose, and then they're off to the NBA draft. So really, what did this serve to them? Really, if they just couldn't end up competing? I know, like, competing for March Madness is a great honor for players and for teams and for colleges as well. It kind of put their names out there, but still, the players end up leaving anyways afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's just not being able to finish your season, I guess, and working to know that you made it to the tournament, but then not getting any further than that kind of sucks.
Yeah, and what I didn't like what the NCAA didn't do is that they didn't release the brackets, which I wish they did, so at least I had something to do right now as I'm sitting here. It's I could just fill out a mock bracket.
Yeah, but you never know who was going to win anyway, so it'd just be... I mean, it would have been cool to see...
I just would have put Duke for everything. I just would have wrote Duke, and then there we go.
Duke wouldn't have won anything this tournament.
Probably not, but still, at least I could hope.
Yeah. I mean, now you can't say they lost this year, really, but...
No.
I mean...
At least UNC didn't even make the NIT tournament, so...
That's terrible.
Which is actually really bad, considering Cole Anthony did say that they're a top 10 team in the country, and then he ended up having 9 points and lost. So
not a good showing.
No, not at all. And for these players, a lot of them won't end up returning. And it's kind of sad to see, especially if like some fan favorites left or whatever. But like, I guess like nobody expected this to happen, but I think the NCAA was very like unorganized and they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, they should have kind of came up with one plan from the get-go. First, you heard no fans at one point, and then they canceled the whole thing. But it would have been nice to see them postpone it, which, it's tough with all the arenas that you need and the travel schedules, but would have probably been better than just no tournament at all.
Yeah, and like a lot of these leagues are postponing the season or we're going to resume it once this is all cleared up. But March Madness, they just decided to just cancel it in general, which I guess is probably one of the worst things that they could have done other than actually letting these kids continue to play. And then even like the NHL, they were one of the first ones to cancel as well or to suspend teams. And a lot of people are losing money from this. Season ticket holders as well won't be able to go see the games, and the same.
Yeah, all the tickets will get refunded, but
yeah, which is good. But for the workers, though,
the workers, yeah, they lose out the biggest on this. The players will probably get their money, but a lot of the owners, at the same time, there's some clauses in the different negotiations and bargaining agreements where the players don't have to be paid. I don't know the specific wording on it, but I saw that out there as well, that they might not get paid, but the players aren't really, what you're really most worried about. I think it's guys in the minors, especially for Major League Baseball, because those guys were at spring training and now have to leave, a couple months earlier than they were supposed to, and don't have anywhere to go. A lot of players were saying, our lease is up in 2 weeks on our condo that we have down in, spring training. I saw this in a lot of different players, and now they have to, find somewhere else to go.
Yeah, and I know there's something out there. I know our buddy Alex Fuse has been very adamant about is adopting a minor league player. Like, just taking one in your home. But I asked one of my friends, and he said no to me. So even though he's a minor league player.
Some guys might actually need it, like down in Florida especially, where they don't have anywhere to stay, in a couple of weeks after whatever they had is kind of up. They might need somewhere to stay and just work out. But a lot of guys don't even have the ability to work out. What facility they're going to go to? Are they going to throw bullpens alone, or there's one catcher, or they don't have the equipment to do it either?
I know for the NBA is that they're going to allow their players to get paid on payday, whenever that is. I don't know when their payday is, but
I think it's the 15th of the month.
I guess it happened yesterday. They got paid, so I know a lot of them are giving back, which is good, and some owners of these teams have decided to pay some money to these workers, whether or not if it's like a big amount or a small amount. But I guess like that's good what the NBA is doing and other leagues as well.
Yeah. Most of the owners should just pay the salaries. Players shouldn't have to donate to that, but some of them are, like Kevin Love, Blake Griffin, Zion as well.
Yeah.
Guy,
I mean, what a great guy. No. Yeah. But it's the difference between Zion and everybody. He's a rookie, though. So, I mean, he hasn't had all those endorsements and all those championship runs like Kevin Love did. I mean,
yeah, but at the same time, well, Zion has more endorsements probably than Love has. I mean, nobody really. Kevin Love's not excited.
No.
Zion's a 19-year-old number 1 overall pick rookie, and got like a $bazillion signing bonus, whatever it is, and then
Jordan paid him $30 million.
Yeah, so I think he's doing okay. Love's got a nice contract too, making $30 million a year, so they're both going to be fine.
Yeah, no. So I think they're all fine, but it's just great what these players are doing and everything like that.
That's all. I mean, I don't have really much else.
There's really nothing else to talk about.
Everything's suspended. There's no sports. Don't have much to do.
Yep, I'm just decided to read.
That's
what it's come down to. Have you been grinding on MLB?
Yeah, MLB The Show 20's out. Go get that game if you don't have it yet.
See, you know what stinks?
You have an Xbox?
I have an Xbox, so
yeah, that stinks. Well,
yeah, so I've been grinding on that COD.
Well, if we got any other news, we'll link up again. Throw another live
for sure.
All right, I'll catch you later.
All right, see you.